Hey, ESPN doesn't want you to know this. In fact, I turned the TV on and no one's talking about it. Arizona is not just the best basketball team this season, but the best basketball team since the 1970s. We can back it up right here on the Dos Grande Squad.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up, it's the Big 12 squad and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big 12 squad.
Oh, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into the Big 12 squad. I am Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day, and I am joined by the consummate professionals. We have Cody Stovall of Locked On Oklahoma State. Mountaineer Paul talks all things Mountaineers on Locked On West Virginia, and he's the clubhouse leader. Where'd that come from?
I just threw it in there.
I like it, actually. I'm down with the sickness. Leaf Queen, all things Arizona Wildcats. You can find each of our shows every single day. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. And if you hit subscribe, we get to keep our jobs. We will hit on college basketball in the Big 12, the transfer portal as well, and full transparency. We're recording this on Tuesday night, so the entire day of Wednesday happened. But that doesn't matter, because we're here for the top-level storylines. We're here for how the Big 12 is being overlooked by ESPN, Joe Lunardi and company. We talked about that last week, but this week, let's curate it specifically to Arizona. Leaf Tulane, is this Arizona team the greatest college basketball team of all time?
Of all time's hard to say now, but
no, say yes. You're supposed to say yes.
Say it.
I'm getting there.
Say it, Leaf.
There's a world in which they win all their games, obviously undefeated, or just like 1 or 2 losses in this elite Big 12 where 6 teams are going to be 3 or 4 seeds or better, and 6 teams are top 12 teams in the country right now. And if Arizona emerges with 1 or 2 losses and wins a championship, wins the Big 12 in the meantime, I think there is a real conversation in which they're one of the best teams ever, because they're not going to have the star power that some of the other best teams historically have, like the John Wood and UCLA's and all that stuff. But if you were to look into this team, what they do have is undeniable balance. I did a show talking about, I think this is the most balanced team that I've ever watched, because any given night, someone can give you 20 and you try to take them away and someone else is going to give you 20. It's not like some of the other recent teams that have a first-team All-American. If they have a bad night, they're screwed. Arizona can survive bad nights from their best players, and they can have, the ancillary pieces, quote unquote, step up and lead a team to a victory. And they can play against the AJ DeBonzas, who's going to be a first-team All-American, is going to be a top 3 draft pick, and make him shoot 6 of 24 and make the game about team rather than one dude. And so I do think this team, and I want to put emphasis on team, is one of the elites in recent memory.
Yeah. By the way, what was it? Ancillary what?
Pieces.
That's what they called me in high school. Like, oh, here he comes, ancillary pieces, walking down the hall, baby. Paul, West Virginia, you guys took on Arizona a couple of games ago. You got to see it 88-53. I think was the final 35-point deficit. West Virginia is a good basketball team. What makes Arizona an elite-level best team in the country basketball team?
Their top 8 guys are all 4-star level players or above. Every single guy they've got, top 7 or 8 guys they bring into the rotation, are all 4-star level players or above. So it doesn't matter who they sub in and who they sub out for the most part. Like you said, the balance is absolutely there, but whether it's they've got so much balance, and like he said, and whether it's look at a guy like Pete or KJ Lewis, like they've got dudes no matter who it is coming off the bench. They've got guys coming into the starting lineup that are just really tough to deal with. And it's just, everybody's so big. Like when West Virginia played them, it seemed like we didn't have a positional size advantage at any spot. They were bigger than us at almost every spot. So, and they've obviously got every type of player, as well as like they've got stretch bigs. They've got bigs that defend the rim. They've got guards that can break you down and get you off the dribble. They've got guys they can ISO you with. They can play pick and roll and pick and pop. So like there's no weaknesses. It's the best team I've seen in person in a really long time. We were totally demoralized in that game. So, and we have a top 25 defense, top 30 defense. It didn't matter.
Cody, I have bad news. Arizona is the one who knocks. The day is coming. The day is coming soon.
And yes, we get to go to Tucson, Arizona this Saturday to experience the Arizona Wildcat situation. Listen, we haven't got to experience this quite yet, but yeah, I think Paul kind of alluded to it. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. Like with Oklahoma State, we can go through stretches where we don't score for 3 minutes or we don't rebound for 2.5 minutes. West Virginia has some of the same, problems defensively, or at least they did in the first half of this previous game. There's a lot of teams in the Big 12 you can pinpoint, like KU. If Peterson is down, sometimes it takes them a little bit to get rolling. Arizona doesn't have that, right? They don't have a lot of deficiencies. There's not a game plan for you to out-rebound them and get a dub or box them out to where they can't get to the three-point line as much and get a dub. Every area of the floor, Arizona is better than almost everybody else. This almost is reminiscent to Houston this previous season. And yes, there could be an undefeated Arizona conference run, but it'll be difficult, right? Houston was undefeated going into the last week of the regular season before Big 12 tournament play, and they got caught. I liken that to something comparable to Arizona. This league's just so good. And for you to win on the road every single week, I find it very, very difficult. But if they do it, man, it almost feels like it's time to bet the house on Arizona making the Final Four. Heck, Paul says it might even need to happen now.
Yeah, they've also got a freshman guard in Burries who is really ascending and really is turning into not only a playmaker on a really good basketball team, but just peaking at the right time his own self, right? I mean, Burries looks so good against West Virginia. Total mismatch nightmare. He's got such a great offensive package. And man, they're tough, man. They're just really tough. I mean, you look at all the guys, they've got 2 guys that are averaging over 17 a game, 3 other guys that are averaging double digits, right? So it's such a balanced offense.
Yeah.
What a year for Arizona. They were really good at football. They're phenomenal at basketball. They're really good at baseball. Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado, they've all helped the Big 12. What is Utah winning?
Uh-oh. I did see them get stomped in basketball, allowing 43 points to AJ DeBonsa a week ago, which was really cool to see AJ play in person. And the Utah Utes football-wise, they were good this year, but not last year. They were no Arizona. I think Arizona probably has the same record as Utah over the course of their stay in the Big 12, which is, ooh, come on, Utah. Come on, Utes. Coming up, let's go into football a bit. Hey, Leaf Tulin's here. And Leaf has a good football team. Not necessarily a football guy, but became one all of a sudden. I was like, oh, wow, Arizona's good. Let's go there next with the transfer portal and Big 12 outlook and a little way too early top 25 that has LSU in the top 10. This is the Dose Grande squad.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, folks. College football season, transfer portal. Obviously, Cody, Oklahoma State had the overhaul. We talked about this on the show. Mountaineer Paul, West Virginia. If you ask on 3 on the composite thing where you add and subtract the players who left and players who came in, is a top 5-6 team in the Big 12 going into next season.
Right.
Leaf, did Arizona do what's necessary to maintain the new level of success that I say new? I mean, obviously, you got that with Fafita's first year with Jed Fish, but the new level of a new regime having success for the first time, is that sustainable?
I think it is, and largely due in part because Noah Fafita's coming back. Like I don't think the biggest win is any addition they had. It's actually retention. Noah Fafita comes back. Both coordinators come back. They had 6 4-stars come into the program as freshmen. You know, how much are freshmen really going to impact the team? You know, that varies team to team because many teams, you know, go into the portal and say, okay, let's get a 22-year-old rather than an 18-year-old. But I think the trajectory is firmly forward. But the biggest story to me was retention as opposed to addition. But they certainly didn't lose anything either.
How do you think Arizona kept Noah Fafita? I mean, not to be crass here, but some of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 are in new landing spots or leaving altogether for the NFL. How was Arizona able to retain him?
I'm sure there's a certain amount of money thrown in, but I don't think Arizona can outbid some of the others. For instance, Sorsby at Cincinnati likely was outbid when he went to Texas Tech. I think there's a loyalty level that Fafita feels towards the Arizona fans, to the Arizona coaching staff. He went from Fish, like you mentioned, to Brennan and found success after a 4-8 season, comes back and is the quarterback of the year in the conference. And so I think, honestly, it was his internal belief that if there was unfinished business, and he's a program legend already, the all-time leading quarterback in terms of touchdowns tossed, I think there's a real world in which it was loyalty and it didn't matter the amount of money thrown at him because he was getting paid well. He's compensated well, may not be as compensated as a guy like Sorsby and going to Texas Tech, but I think he believes that it's the best spot for him.
It's rare in college football nowadays. Parker Ainsworth's not here, but Paul, I know you follow the Big 12 as close as anybody. The Houston Cougars, they brought in 17 guys. They lost 15 guys. And the dudes they brought in were a myriad of 4 stars, even 5 stars out of the freshman ranks. I think, again, not enough people are talking about Houston being a serious threat in the Big 12.
Yeah, they really did put together a really nice class. Obviously, Mekhi Hughes came in from Oregon, a really good running back, and listen, he was a top 10 rushing guy, right? You look at Shadre Hurst, an offensive lineman that they brought in Tulane, all these former guys. They brought in Drew Terrell from Miami of Ohio, who I watched very closely at West Virginia. Really wanted him, an elite offensive tackle that can really adds a ton of size and depth up front for them. Overmeyer, the tight end that they brought in, is really good. Trent Walker, the wide receiver they brought in, is really good. Mayo, the DB, White, the other DB they brought in, and I think Anthony Boswell, another offensive lineman they brought in that had some interior line experience. And then you add, obviously, Ashton Porter, another guy that they brought in that I really am high on and that I think can make a big impact for the Houston Cougars this year.
Cody,
hey, are we just going to ignore that Noah Fafita gets to throw the ball next season to Rodney Gallagher? Are you just going to ignore that?
Okay, so Rodney Gallagher, obviously,
storyline of Arizona.
Here he goes. Here he goes.
Yeah, Rodney Gallagher is a guy that, obviously West Virginia fans. The truth about Gallagher, man, he's a 4-star guy coming out, PA area level kid. West Virginia beats Penn State for his services. It was a big storyline, and he was a quarterback in high school and had to transition into the slot. And West Virginia wasn't sure, what they had in him. Unfortunately, the scene for him was so tumultuous while he was at West Virginia. We never really
quarterback wise,
just overall, you know what I mean? With Neil Brown being fired, Rich Rod coming in, that culture shift, 2 totally different cultures. You go from a spread, slowed down, running, RPO type system with Brown to a all tempo running game with Rich Rod. You had Nico starting to begin, right? And then the quarterback, we had your West Virginia. I don't think a lot of people talk about this enough, but West Virginia had number quarterback 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 go out. Running backs 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 go out. Like they had a horrible, horrible season with injuries. And so Gallagher, unfortunately, started out really hot. We thought he looked so good early, and then just kind of fell off. And he's never had a big time season. So I would be really curious to see how he plays at Arizona this year. And I wouldn't be shocked if he had a 50, 60 catch year. I wouldn't be. He would do it.
Hey, Drake, color me crazy, but I think we need the Arizonas and the West Virginias and the BYUs, these teams that have a large production returning to be successful, because when we had 89% of our roster returning after a 10-win season, We were terrible. K-State did the same thing with a returning roster this previous season. Terrible. We need a returning roster team to be good, whether it's Arizona or BYU or West Virginia, right? You had 60 new players last year. A decent number of those stayed this upcoming season. I don't want to get into an area where the success is dictated every season by the portal. We have to have a Big 12 team that has a returning roster be successful. Or am I just reading too much into it and I'm crazy?
We need like 6 Big 12 teams to go undefeated, and then 6 Big 12 teams to win 0 games. And 4 teams in the purgatory of a couple are 10-2, a couple are 4-8.
We'd take it. Yeah, we would.
We need Penn State's non-con then.
We need
West Virginia's schedule. Have you guys seen West Virginia's schedule? It actually works out really nicely for West Virginia this year.
What's so interesting is the more I look at I can almost make the case for every Big 12 school, their schedule works out nicely. There are 3 of them that are brutal. And then the other 13, I'm like, because there are so many coin flips. What is West Virginia going to be? What is Oklahoma State going to be? What is Iowa State going to Kansas State? There are Utah. Like those 5 teams could all be 8, 9, 10 win teams with the rosters they're bringing in. They also could all go 4-8, 5-7 as they try to reestablish and build. There is, for what goes up must also come down. It's almost like every team is such a coin flip in the Big 12 right now that outside of BYU and Texas Tech, Houston maybe, I can't guarantee really anything else.
100% agree. 100% agree. In West Virginia's case, I'll just say, West Virginia got lucky as far as the way the schedule sets up, right? You've got 7 home games next year. That's always great. You start out with the Coastal Carolina team that's in a brand new coaching, got a brand new coach who brought in 70 new people themselves. So that should be a win. UT Martin should be a win. The Virginia game in week 3 is going to be the measuring stick game for West Virginia, followed by Oklahoma State as well, but after beyond that, you get Iowa State, Arizona, Cincinnati, TCU. So those are all games that you can win. Beyond that, you finally get to Texas Tech, but then it's Kansas, Houston, and Utah, right? So I think West Virginia's got a manageable schedule, and it sets up down in the towards the stretch of the season where the meat of the schedule is. West Virginia can be in it at least in those last 4 games. So I'm excited to see what it is that we end up looking like. Obviously, portal-wise, West Virginia brought in 5 brand new offensive linemen. A few of those were all-conference, first-team all-conference guys. West Virginia sunk $4 million in the offensive line. That was the biggest thing that they wanted to change, and they did change. Obviously, and they brought in a lot of high-upside players at other positions with Michael Hawkins, who I don't want to ramble on too long, but I had Teddy Lehman, who was an Oklahoma Hall of Famer, come on the other day. I was telling Cody about this on another show, and he was telling me how Michael Hawkins Jr., and this is the color commentator for Oklahoma Sooners radio football, and he was telling me that Michael Hawkins Jr. was more impressive than Mateer every single day in spring practice. The only reason that Mateer really beat him out was because of the investment they had in Mateer. So a lot of West Virginia fans, since I've done that interview, kind of really raised, not that he didn't already have a high ceiling, but Hawkins is a guy to watch for West Virginia.
Love it. Hey, coming up here, we have another very special guest who joins the Big 12 squad. Yep, we add one more to the fold, and we talk sneaking a couple more in. Can Oklahoma State or West Virginia represent this conference? And UCF is being buried right now. It makes no sense. This is the Go State Grande squad. Hey, Drake Toll here from, Locked On Big 12 to tell you about Indeed. Indeed is exactly where I go right now because I'm looking for a Locked On Big 12 intern. I just need it, man. Like, I can't, the social media stuff is so daunting, and I have like 3 or 4 jobs or whatever. Indeed sponsored jobs is the place to go to make it easy to match with quality candidates immediately by boosting your job listing to people who fit your specific criteria. So if you want to know, are they a great culture fit? Indeed can help you pretty much immediately. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Indeed sponsored jobs. Less time searching, more time interviewing candidates to check all those boxes. You will get right now $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Today's show is also brought to you by my favorite place to get tickets. It's Game Time. Game Time's where I go, man. Like, man, I really want to go see UCF play basketball. They're not that far away from me in Orlando. I live in Savannah. I'm going to go to Game Time. There's nothing like being in college basketball or an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the hype. I love that I can see the all-in price up front on Game Time and the view from my seat before buying. That helps me make the decision immediately. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Remember, it's gametime.co. Gametime.co, not .com. GameTime.co is where you'll go today. Game Time. Hey, thank you all for making our shows your first listen every single day. And we have something even better and brighter for all of you that make our shows your first listen every single day. You can go to LockedOnPodcasts.com/everydayer club. LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer club to join the Everydayer Club of each of these shows, whether you're a fan of Oklahoma State, of Colorado, of UCF, or of Arizona State. Join the Everydayer Club. LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer club. All right, let's get into it. Cody, let's start. You know what? Screw it. We're starting
Let's get Bortastic.
I don't even want to. Kevin Borba of Locked On Bucks joins the show.
That's fantastic.
Let's go to Leaf first, so we can go to Borba. Leaf, how do we get teams? And I know Arizona's been boat racing everybody. How do we get teams like Oklahoma State and West Virginia more respect and possibly into the NCAA tournament? Because both their resumes, given the conference they're in, are still pretty solid.
Well, yeah, I think you start the conference off with 6 teams that'll be in the top 16 reveal. Like they'll all be 4 seeds or better. So you really have that strong precedent. And then if any of Oklahoma State, West Virginia, you could UCF's going to be a 7 or 8 seed, and they could cause some danger. Iowa State, they also played, and UCF gave problems to Arizona. So that's another team. That's 7 teams. Baylor is not particularly good, but they are certainly talented. And so you get to the West Virginias and the Oklahoma States, you just need to get a marquee win because you certainly have the opportunities. There's quad 1 wins, and then there's quad 1A wins. And there are a lot of those to go around in the Big 12, far more than any other conference. And I believe West Virginia has a chance. Oklahoma State's got a little more digging to do, but West Virginia has played some of the upper echelon of the Big 12 well. Arizona and West Virginia was not one of those matchups that West Virginia was going to thrive in because Arizona was too big. But if they play a team that isn't as big, like a Texas Tech, I think there's a possibility of springing an upset. So essentially, to answer your question, is you need to get a marquee win and then take care of business on the home court. Like the recipe for the bottom half of the Big 12 that wants to be moving towards the top half is win on your home court and get one big win over one of the marquee programs of the Big 12.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, at the time this releases, we're a couple hours away from West Virginia and Cincinnati. It's a road game. Big opportunity for a win. If West Virginia wins that game, another feather in your hat.
Yeah, and we've already beaten West Virginia once this year, we've beaten Cincinnati once this year in West Virginia. Going to Cincinnati is going to be a difficult, game. It's never easy to win there. They have talent, obviously, and I think West Virginia can win the game, but they're a difficult team to play because they've got such a great defense. So we'll see what happens, but I think West Virginia pulls that one off. Certainly, it's one of the. I think we ranked them earlier with Cody on a crossover. They're probably the second easiest game left on the schedule outside of Utah for West Virginia. West Virginia does have a 1A win, by the way, this year over Kansas. Kansas has gone on to win 6 straight and become one of the hottest teams in the country since West Virginia beat them. So that win continues to look better and better for West Virginia. And I think, of these last few games, can West Virginia get a win over either BYU or Texas Tech as you go out the door? If you can pull one of those out and then split the games down the rest of the – because you've also got UCF twice, which I told Cody earlier, our season hinges on those 2 games, in my opinion, because I think West Virginia is going to pick up a win over Cincy. I think we got a good chance to beat Oklahoma State. I think we've got a good chance to beat Utah, obviously. And so the 2 games versus UCF could be the difference between 17, 19, or 20 wins.
Colorado's not that bad either. Aren't y'all like 14-8 or
that's
something like that?
Yeah, they beat all of the bad teams. And look, they have a couple wins that I thought when they beat Washington or like San Francisco or one of those WCC schools, St. Mary's, San Francisco.
Yeah, it was San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought after that I was like, okay, they're gonna be really good, and then they lost to Northern Colorado.
They did, yeah. They went on a streak of beating UC Davis, San Francisco, and then UW, and then immediately lose to Northern Colorado for like the first time in 100 years or something. So for a team like Colorado, like this is where if you're a mid to bottom tier team in the Big 12, like you just get into win out range. Like there's no like, okay, we split one here, we split one there. It's like you have to win out or win a majority of your games to even be on that bubble, because there's a lot of other bubble teams. We talked about this last week. There's a lot of bias towards other particular conferences where they're viewed as maybe the ACC is viewed as stronger. The SEC, like those mid-tier teams in the SEC or the ACC may get the nod over a mid-tier Big 12 team. So you kind of have to make it indisputable, and it's just one of those things where you got to win out. And right now, Colorado's sitting at 3-6, I think, in conference play. So that will not get it done for now.
There's more chances in the Big 12 to like perpetuate yourself into the bubble territory, though, because if you go up to the high altitude in Boulder and stumble, you all of a sudden say it's Kansas. In the case of West Virginia, they beat Kansas. Colorado could do the same thing, and Kansas is not going to be worried at all about dropping that game, because now, like you said, Paul, they're going to win all those games and rattle it off and move themselves into the top 10 of the AP poll, top 10 of KenPom. And when Darren Peterson's cooking, they're not scared of anything, so those games mean nothing to them. But it does mean something as those wins strengthen for the lesser teams in the Big 12 that still are good, whereas a lot of teams like the SEC, their best wins don't mean as much because Florida's vulnerable. Florida is the best team in the SEC. I know Texas A&M and Buckyball is ranked number 1, but Florida is easily the best team in the SEC. And you look at those teams, and they've lost to teams. Like TCU had Florida, and TCU beat Florida. And TCU is a team that I would say is mid to bottom tier of the Big 12. So there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 capable of being the upper echelon of the other conferences. It's just that the upper echelon of the Arizona, the Houstons, and of the world are very difficult to beat. And so if you get one of those wins, I do think all it takes is just holding serve on home court to put yourself on the bubble territory. You don't even need really road wins.
That's a really good point. And Oklahoma State does have a premier win over Texas A&M by like 25 points, but we do not have a premier Big 12 W. And I think that's a must. Take care of home court, get a big road dub, and I think you're in position. We're going to find out where we stack up. We've got BYU at home, then we go to Arizona. If Oklahoma State's competitive in both of those games and they're somewhat close, then yeah, I think grabbing an 8 spot for Big 12 representation in the tournament is definitely a possibility.
Why this year, Leaf, to you, are the Big 12, the middle of the pack Big 12 teams, are those teams not being considered NCAA tournament schools like they were in years prior? And why is the middle of the ACC in that conversation, but the middle of the Big 12 isn't allowed that opportunity?
I do think the middle of the Big 12 is underrated because of how good the big top of the Big 12 is. I think there's just a distinct gap between the top 6 of the Big 12 and everyone else. And so it hurts because they're seen as non-competitive as compared to the top. Whereas if you look at the SEC, for instance, middle of the pack is so much closer to the top that it's perceived as better depth. Whereas if you were to take the top 6 of the Big 12, the Big 12's top 6 is going to smoke the SEC's top 6. And so I think that the UCFs of the world, I think UCF's good. Like I watched them play Arizona. I watched them beat Kansas. I watched them beat Texas Tech. That team should be a 6 or a 7, yet they're not ranked in the top 25.
Right.
And so that team is closer to the top of the Big 12 than they are to the middle, in my opinion. But the narrative is different than when Alabama was 4-4 in the SEC because they had preseason expectation. And as for the ACC, I'm not really sure because the ACC is really Duke by themselves. There's a little drop off, actually a large drop off.
Clemson's really good.
Find yourselves with like Louisville, Carolina, Virginia, and Clemson. But those teams are far more similar to the UCFs of the world than they are to Arizona. Arizona, Houston, I think are by themselves. I think Iowa State, Kansas, BYU, and Texas Tech are a little bit below those top 2. But they're by themselves as compared to the ACC's mid-tier.
Well, it depends if Darren Peterson wants to play today. It depends. If he wants to play,
even then, Kansas has some good wins without him. Like NC State's going to be a tournament team in
for
the
sure.
ACC, and they went to NC State and won without Darren Peterson.
If Darren Peterson's playing, that's where they have the opportunity to crack into the Arizona-Houston conversation.
Their Final Four contenders, yeah.
Does he like basketball is the big question. Does he like basketball?
He just hates basketball. That's pretty creative in the aggregate. That is Cody Stelball, Locked On Oklahoma State. Quick and easy, fast one today, boys. Mountaineer Paul, Locked On West Virginia. Kevin Borba, Locked On Buffs. Leaf Tulane talks all things Arizona right here for Locked On. This has been and always will be. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. Locked On. Join that Everyday Air Club, the No Say Grande Squad.